Okay. All right, what's up, everybody? Steve Coffey here again from RMIT. I'm with my boy Dakota Zinser. Like me, he's been playing all over the world, a little bit younger than I am, but has a lot of experience in a lot of different countries. I'm gonna let him share a little bit about his story today. Thanks for being on the show, Dakota.
For sure, man. Thanks for having me. Excited to spread the word a little bit about different experiences, man. So appreciate you having me.
Yeah, can you give me a little bit just about your background, where you're from, where you played in college, where you're at right now during this whole pandemic, for example?
Yeah, for sure, man. So I'm from Green Bay, Wisconsin, born and raised here. Um I ended up going to a Division II school, NCAA Division II school in South Florida called Palm Beach Atlantic University. I was there for 4 years, had a pretty solid career. And I've been playing professionally ever since, which is 2018. But I kind of been playing continuously. So I've played in 6 countries so far. Hope to make it 7 here soon. But yeah, at the moment, still in Green Bay now, back home here because I have access to a gym, and there's not a lot of people overseas right now. You're one of the exceptions for sure. But yeah, man, just in Green Bay right now, just staying ready, trying to stay healthy and get ready for that next opportunity.
All right. You mentioned 7 countries. You're gonna pass me pretty soon from most countries played in. I'm at 8, and you're almost there already. Just talk about the different places you've been, your favorite place you played at, the hardest place you played at, and just some of the experiences you've had in those areas.
Yeah, for sure. So I've played in Germany, France, Australia, Russia, China, and Indonesia. So kind of a little diversity there for you. Yeah, man. I mean, for me, it's been a real blessing, bro. Just because I love traveling. I get to travel with my wife most of the time, which is really cool. We get to experience different culture, just a different way of life, really. So it's really cool. I try to make the most of each of those opportunities. But yeah, man, they're all different in their own ways. I was in Germany and France on basketball tours with News Release Basketball, 2 separate summers, so that was cool. We played against Pro A teams in Germany and then National 2 teams in France. So that's both leagues are really good level. Pro A in Germany is those guys are D1 guys, high level pros as well. And yeah, I think for me, man, that was the toughest German or like local players that I've played to for sure was like Pro A German guys. Um, but yeah, and then Australia was my official rookie season, and wasn't that difficult to adjust. No language barrier, food's pretty similar, weather's nice. So I enjoyed that, man. I had great teammates. It was a easy transition for me for sure.
What part of
And
Australia were you in?
I was in South Adelaide,
Okay,
so South Australia. Yeah,
not far from
but
us.
yeah, right west of you guys. So yeah, and then after Australia, I was in Russia for about 4 months, and that was way different, man.
It's one way to put
Way different. But yeah, it was almost like stepping in a time machine, going back 30, 40 years, just very industrial. I was in Siberia actually, so not even like modern Russia. Yeah, it was different, man. But um, again, for me, I just try to make the most of every opportunity. Um, you know, it's it's uh, it's really cool to just travel the world, and we're playing a sport, man. We get to play a sport for a living, so like I said, man, it's a blessing. It's really cool. But yeah, Russia was different, probably for me, the most physical. They live up to that stereotype for sure, just being like rugged and really, really physical. I think most places in Europe, in my opinion, a lot of people, they compensate for not being maybe the most athletic or quickest by being physical and playing with grit, and then IQ is another big thing too. You get guys that look like they've never touched a basketball in their life, but they got it all up here, man. They know how to play out of a pick and roll, and they're gonna make the right decision. Pocket pass, corner pass, or hitting a jump shot, something like that. But yeah, Russia was definitely the most physical for me. My first game over there, I actually broke 2 ribs, got drilled by a 7-footer, and I was just laying on the ground, bro, and I couldn't breathe for like 5 minutes, and I had to go sit on the bench, and then my coach came over to me and said, "Are you good to go?" And I'm like, "I don't think so." He's like, "Okay, get back in." Like, we're pressing the full game. I can barely breathe, and so yeah, that was like my first game over there, and I had to play on it for 10 games after that, without healing. So that was tough. But yeah, man, just again, great experience. After that, I was in China, kind of playing, NBL, which is like second division, and then with like wild ball games, like combined. So we'd be playing like NBL teams and then wild ball games, which um, not many people know about, but they're crazy, man. Chinese people love basketball, so that was really cool for me. Going from, you know, in my experience in Australia and Russia, where there's, at a maxed out game, you're maybe getting 300 to 500 people, and then in China, it's like thousands, couple thousand. It's packed out stadium, and you're playing in a somewhere that looks like a D1, a real D1 place, which was really cool. And yeah, China was different, man, just really cool. And my wife was with me there, so she loved China, loved the culture, loved the food, everything about it. And you feel like a superstar, man. Everybody, you go on the train and everyone's holding their phone up in your face, like they just can't believe an American's there, and it's even different too. Like one of my teammates was from Senegal, bro, 6'11", like dark dude, and they're just like they're not saying anything, just
Just
jaw
like,
drop. Yeah, just like amazed, man. Um, so it's different for sure. And then after China, I actually went to Indonesia only for 16 days. I got called there to finish out the season and then play in playoffs. Um, on the day of our first game, they postponed the season, so didn't
well,
get to play at all. But I loved it.
yeah.
Loved Indonesia though, man. Weather was amazing, like super tropical. I was in Jakarta, which is the capital, so a really nice place. And yeah, they treated you well. I had a ton of gear. Any basketball player loves a ton of gear, so that was cool too. But yeah, man, that's kind of a little bit of my journey. And then again, just yeah, back home now in Green Bay, just working out, staying ready. So
All right. What are some stories that you have that are memorable? For me, having played in so many different countries, I can think of moments from each country that just were, that blew my mind. When I was playing in Palestine, my team captain had me over for lunch and provided me with a special meal, which was sheep head and intestines. And to this day, it's the most disgusting thing I've ever had in my life. It was horrible. I was just praying the whole time I was eating not to throw up because I didn't want to be disrespectful, but it was horrible.
yeah,
Another
man.
example was when I was in Morocco, and I loved playing in Morocco, loved the culture, the people, the food. Is Friday we went over to my teammate's house and they put this big bowl of couscous on the table as the meal you eat. And everybody just started reaching and eating with their hands. There was no spoon, no utensils. And my teammate from South Carolina, who'd never left the country before, is looking at me like, dude, that's disgusting. I'm not touching that. I'm like, it's the culture. We're in a different place. That's how they do it. And he just would not do it. He's like, I don't want to share food that, 8 other people are touching. So those are just two examples of me. What are some examples of, things you've been through? Because I know Russia's got to be completely different.
Yeah. I was about to go there first, man.
All right, let's hear it.
I had I remember like one of the first dinners I had at one of my teammates' places. We didn't eat till 10 p.m., 10:30 p.m. And again, living up to that stereotype, man, a lot of vodka, and it was all like in water bottles. And I don't drink like that, man. Like I hardly drink ever. And so they take like 6 shots, right? 6 shots to start a vodka, and it's like,
Wow.
each one is a toast to like okay, family, friends, good health, you know, good luck, whatever. They're saying it all in Russian, and I'm like, I have like the 6 shots, man, and like I said, I don't drink like that, and I'm like,
Oh,
whoa,
no.
I'm ready to go home. But I mean, the food was awesome, man. They had a big spread of all this different stuff. The food was amazing. But yeah, and then you know another thing with the food in Russia is just very fresh, bro. A lot of like fresh vegetables and fruits, which I loved. But yeah, and like I said, very industrial. Another experience of mine from Russia is, you know, they start these projects there and then they don't finish them. Like they had a train like coming through the middle of the city, and they drug up like the all the tracks, bro, all throughout the city, just dug it up and tore it all to pieces, and then just left it there. Like they worked on it for 2 days and then just left it there. So, and that happened with sidewalks, roads, buildings, um, and then going off your Morocco experience, same thing in Indonesia. We were at the airport at like a KFC even, and they give you rice in like a package and they wrap it up, and I'm like, "Where's the silverware at? Like, where's the forks at?" And they're like, "Oh, nah, like we don't, like we don't use that." They'd be like going like this, like grabbing the rice and like dipping it, and I'm like, "Nah, bro, I'm not doing that." Yeah, so that was different, man, for sure. But yeah, it's again, it's all part of the experience. It's cool to just be immersed in like different culture. You know, it's eye opening for sure. And then coming back to the U.S., I'm sure you know, man, it's different. You know, a lot of people don't realize how good we have it here. Not that it's rough everywhere else you go, but you just take for granted a lot of the little things for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think my favorite part outside of playing the game is just experiencing new things. You land in a new country, and it's night and day. You know, the way the U.S. works has been adopted. You know, in Western Europe and Australia and other places, there's a lot of similarities. But when you land, you know, in Morocco or Siberia or where I was in Vietnam or you in Indonesia, it's just completely different. The opportunity just to see how people live life. You know, for them, our way of doing things is different. The same way we
Hmm.
look at it. So it's cool to just always immerse in it and just dive into what they do. In Vietnam, for me, seeing people eat outside on these chairs that were probably 12 inches off the ground, and I couldn't even get my knees to bend that far down and sit. So I was like, you gotta get me something higher. I'm just not used to that. It was fun to see
Yeah.
everybody look at me and laugh because I couldn't do it. It was an experience that was enjoyable. So definitely with you on that.
And I
Going
think
back,
part of that too, like just to go off that for a second, is like, you know, as basketball players and Americans, I think a lot of I haven't experienced any situation where I didn't feel welcome or didn't feel safe, which is awesome too. Is like they want you to like love the way they live life and love their country. So I think that's another plus, man, of being, you know, a basketball player and an American is they want to like show you how they live. They want you to show you everything that they love, and I think that's so cool. So, and I have heard stories, and I've had teammates too that, you know, they just sit in the room and they don't want to do anything, and I think there's a time for that for sure. But you know, when I went, like, you know, that first month in each country is you want to get out and do as much as you can with that person and just see their way of life for sure.
it is. I mean, we're as Americans, we represent the U.S. We're ambassadors. So how they view us is how they're going to view most Americans. By sitting in the room all day, you're going to come across as stubborn, arrogant, and you're going to put a bad name out for that next American.
Yeah.
It is much more than just us. We have a job to do while we're there, but we're also paving the way for other people later on, and
Hmm.
for other Americans they might come in contact with. If we're the only experience they have with an American, they're going to assume this is how we are. So we do have a responsibility and opportunity when we go different places to act a certain way. We are not bigger than the game. We're not bigger than anything else. We're just basketball players who are given the opportunity to, play the game at a different place. And we got to do the best we can on the court. But that also means off the court, behaving a certain way and interacting and soaking it in. There's just too much to this world than just, the United States. And I
Yeah.
think it's cool the opportunities you and I have been given to go travel the world and just soak in as much as possible.
Yeah.
Going back to what you said about, earlier, the IQ and stuff, I want to hear some stories about that. For me, I kind of the same story. When I got to France, preseason starts, in the US, people never stop working out. You come home from your season, you go right back to the gym, you prepare for the next season. So I get to preseason camp, and I've got 2 or 3 guys that haven't done a thing but drink beers and have barbecues all summer, and they're just out of shape. And I'm like, man, what have I gotten myself into? I'm young, I'm 22, 23 at the time, no idea. Game starts, and I get hit with the screen, and I'm leveled to the floor. And then next time, the guy makes a pass out of nowhere. The guy can't run up and down more than 3 or 4 times without, gasping for air. But physicality and IQ made up for it very quickly, and you understand real quick, for me as a young man at the time, that there's more than just being able to run and jump.
Yeah.
So I had one game, we played some rivals, and they're big guys, 6'10", 280 pounds, put me in the hospital, and I had stitches in 3 different locations after the game: my lip, my face, and my elbow, because he was just making sure, I knew that this was his court. So I can vouch on I didn't have any broken ribs, but the stories you have of going overseas and understanding that the game is completely different. What country would be the easiest, you said, to adapt in terms of playing style, and what would be the hardest one in terms of playing style?
Oh, I mean, for me, I don't think there's one that was super difficult to adapt to. For me, again, I've had mentors that played overseas for a long time. So for me, man, before I even went overseas, I'm trying to soak up all this information I can, just be a sponge to older guys. And, um, something someone told me, I can't remember who told me it, but they just said it's about how quickly you can adapt, because if you can't, you're going to be on a plane back home and someone else is going to come and do the job, right? So I didn't have a difficult time yet in my experiences adapting. And I don't think, maybe Australia is probably the easiest just because of the language barrier, no language barrier.
Mhm.
In Russia, bro, my coach was basically the only person who spoke English. So that's a big difference there. Some players from wherever you go might speak English, some might not. It's just, I think it depends really where you go. But yeah, I'd say Australia is fairly easy just because there's no language barrier. And I think they kind of, Australia adapts like half of like American style basketball, half of European. I think they're like that in between. Again, from my experiences, like Germany or pretty much anywhere in Europe, they're gonna go to that like wing ball screen, 8 times out of 10, and that's like the bread and butter. You have actions off that and all that stuff, but high pick and roll, man, that's the moneymaker there for sure overseas. Especially when you get guys who can read a ball screen, make a pass, and then hit a shot. It's hard to stop.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, Australia's been easy, for my wife and I, because there's been no language barrier and stuff like that, and they do play similar basketball, versus, when I first got to Morocco, and then, it's not the highest level, so now you're dealing with, poor decision making and things like that, just and more responsibility. As an American, we brought you in here, we need you to do, most of the work. So
Yeah.
being a sponge and knowing, soaking it in and adapting quickly definitely prolongs your career. Don't go in there thinking that you know everything and you're going to do it your way, because everyone's different.
Yeah.
What would be one of your moments where you're like, wow, this is like, I made it to the overseas, dream I've had? For me, the example is when I won my first, championship in the Middle East back in 2010 or something like that. In the middle of the game, drums and trumpets, and it's so loud I can't hear a thing. You don't have that in the U.S. You don't have it here in Australia. It's pretty quiet here in Australia. But I mean, I couldn't hear anything. And out there as well, there was people smoking in the gym. So there's this, cloud of smoke above you at the roof. And I'm just on the court at one point, like, man, this is what I've always dreamed for. And then we ended up winning the championship, and they rushed the court, and it was a party till 6 the next morning. So, do you have any examples of things like that throughout your career?
Yeah, man. I think probably like this game I had in China, man, was, we came out of the locker room and, start warming up, whatever. And I go back in, go to the bathroom, and I come back out, and I'm just like, and this is one of those games where it's, 5,000 people in there. And I'm like, dang, man, this is crazy, and I haven't been able to win a championship yet, or anything like that, but it just, realizing, all those hours you put you know, in past summers or past seasons, and what you wanted is any young athlete, bro. They want to play professionally, whatever their sport is. So it's just, you know, I think, and it's important too to take a step back and say, "Dang, man, like I worked hard for this," and just kind of soak it up and enjoy it for a second. Obviously, when you're overseas, it's about business because you gotta do your job, otherwise somebody else will. But yeah, man, enjoying it, enjoying the moment because it's a privilege to play in a different country and get paid for it for sure. It's not everybody gets to do that. So that for me, that's probably my moment. Um, and I was Indonesia was cool too, man, just because they're the same way. They play in big arenas, sold out arenas, and that's I think that's what most people want. You want to play in that arena with a lot of people in it, and you want to be, um, yeah, that's just where you want to be, man. But yeah, that's what it is for me, and I just think it's important to take a step back sometimes and realize like how far you've come and all the work you put in for what you've wanted.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna tell you, and I tell everybody, soak in the moment. I'm 32 years old. I've been doing this for 10 years, and at some point, it's going to end sooner rather than later. Versus you and other guys are just getting started. Make the most of everything because it goes fast.
Mhm.
What is a typical like? How do you balance? You're married now and stuff. How do you balance having to work out, spending time with your wife, spending time with friends and family when you're back home, while preparing and being at the best of your ability for when the season comes? Because it is a job. Most people when they think basketball players, they don't understand that if you go to the office 8 to 5, that's your job. The same way if you're in the weight room in the court, running sprints, that's your 8 to 5. So how do you balance that out in a way that helps you prepare to the best of your ability while making time for the important things in your life?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thing to see it as your job for sure. Obviously my wife and my family is my priority, but basketball is my job. So for me, man, it's workouts twice a day really. It's, in the morning it's going to be skill basketball work. In the afternoon, it's either going to be a lift or shots. And that's how I try to do it. And then again, right now I'm trying to come back like rehab and stuff, a little back injury, but always doing something to get better every day. I think for me too, man, I really started loving the gym and just loving the grind probably after Australia or during Australia, just loving to be in the gym, man, and really taking ownership of that title of being a pro basketball player. So obviously that's a priority, man. After my family is making sure I take care of that stuff, take care of my body, and then everything else really falls into place. Here with COVID and stuff, people in the States, I have to make money somehow just because you don't know when the next job's coming through. But yeah, man, the gym is a priority. And like I said, I've been able to really fall in love with the grind and fall in love with the process as of late, the past couple years. But yeah, man, I think you gotta take ownership of that title. Like you want to be a pro basketball player, you gotta act like one. You can't be partying, smoking, eating like crap, not getting in the gym because it's not gonna cut it.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's true. I mean, I was going to ask my next question would be like, what's some advice you would give people who want this title?
mhm,
For me, when I was in college, I always had this desire to go play overseas. It meant not going out on weekends, not partying, not doing certain things. My focus was on something greater than just the moment. Uh,
mhm,
for me, growing up, I knew I had to put in more effort because I'm not naturally gifted with speed or height and things these other people have. So how do you compensate? And I'd like to hear what your advice is to kids who want this thing, because a lot of kids do want to be able to get paid to play one day and make that their job.
Yeah, obviously you got to put in the work, man. That's first and foremost. You got to put in the work. It's not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to happen by chance. The greatest players in the world aren't the greatest for no reason. They work really, really hard. But I think, secondly, man, it's not about the kind of player you are. It's about the kind of person you are. To me, if you're going to be a professional basketball player, the way you carry yourself, the way you treat others is number two, like for sure. Um, yeah, man. I mean, I one of my mentors played 14 seasons. Okay, he came from a Division II school. His first pro contract was making like $500 a month in Denmark, and this dude is like a D2 All-American bucket getter, like straight bucket, man. And by his fourth season, he was playing in EuroLeague, making making a lot of money. So, and you know what he told me? He said, I wasn't always the fastest, I wasn't the most athletic, I wasn't even the best scorer, the best shooter, but he said I was just a good teammate. I was a good person. Because that stuff goes a long way, man. I know guys that have averaged upper 20s, 30s in like respected leagues, and they don't get jobs because they're not a good teammate. It doesn't matter. To me, if I'm a coach, I'm not bringing on a player that can score the piss out of the ball, but he's just a horrible guy, because it's horrible for team morale, right? It's just not going to work out. In my opinion, you're going to lose games. But yeah, man, just being a good teammate and a good person, interacting with the club, talking with the GM, talking with the coaches, talking with as many people as you can, making those relationships, making those connections, because that stuff goes a long way. The person you are, to me, I always told myself, I don't want to be forgotten after I left here. Like, I don't want to be the import that just stayed in his room and, all right, cool, he left. We don't really care. Like, on to the next one. I want to be able to stay in touch with these people. And now it's so easy too. You got Facebook, you got other social media outlets, but yeah, man, you just want to leave your mark and make an impact on people's lives in a positive way. So to me, number two for sure is just the kind of teammate and the kind of person you are, because it goes a long, long way. You could be all American, average 30 points a game, bad teammate, but you're not going to get a job a lot of places because of your attitude. So,
Yeah, I know here at RMIT, we have a huge emphasis on team culture now. And the kind of guys that are on the team are guys that are good people. I mean, they can play basketball, it's not a question, but they're good people and they're people you want to be around with, guys who come to practice and you have a good relationship with, who have a good relationship with the people in the club. It's not just about what happens between those four lines, it's about everything else. The relationship you have with the team president, with team doctors, with fans. You can't put a price on that. I want a guy who's going to interact with the little kids who came, on a Saturday night and want to just, sign autographs or just take pictures. And the guy who says yes, that goes a long way. And as an American, even more so, because they're the ones that they're coming to see.
mhm.
They're the ones who sell tickets, not the locals. As good as they are, that's not the reason why most people go. Um, so yeah, appreciate that. Great advice. And what is your goal moving forward? I know we talked earlier before this interview about the next possibilities, but what are like some long-term goals you have, as far as a player, maybe after playing or something? How you can use basketball in certain ways? Do you have anything in mind yet?
Yeah, man. Obviously, with COVID, it's crazy times, and I would love to play as long as I can, as long as my body will let me, as long as I'm healthy, and as long as I can provide for my family. I think is the biggest thing. It's tough to play at a certain level when you can't make as much money as you would back in the States. So I think that's something to consider too. But I always told my wife and my family, as long as I can keep moving up and make a little bit more money here and there, then I think for me it's a good thing. But when it does end, man, I would love to stay around the game, whatever that means. Coaching. I do have a major in personal training, so that as well. Just want to be around athletes, because yeah, man, I'm passionate about it. I love it. I love being around. And now, I'm starting to find that I love being around the younger athletes, like the high school guys, and it's cool to see them grow, because I remember when I was that age, I was looking up to, you know, a college guy or a pro guy, and it's cool to be that influence on them, that positive influence that they need. So that, long term, man, would love to be a coach or a trainer somewhere, um, wherever God leads me to be. But
Mhm.
yeah, man, would love to play as long as I can because I'm definitely not ready to stop yet.
Yeah, I know. I mean, this COVID season's made it tough. Not having a season here in Australia has been very difficult. You prepare
Yeah.
hard. Kind of like with you in Indonesia, they canceled our season the day before the first game started. So
Mhm.
I know a lot of us are just itching to get back in that gym and start playing again. But who knows when it'll be? Just gotta keep doing what you can control. I can't control the virus, but I can control what I'm doing in my daily life, which is working out and spending time with family. So
Yeah.
all right. Well, I appreciate your time today. Thanks for all this information. Loved hearing a little bit more about your story. I know we talk a lot in person,
Mhm.
individually, but this is cool as well. So,
Yeah, man. Appreciate you having me.
all right. Take care, man.
Yeah. See ya.